Welcome to MCN, and this, the Ducati Multistrada V4 RS. Now for many, this is an aspirational motorcycle. So there are a whole swathe of riders that grew up loving superbikes and riding superbikes, whether that was R1s or 916s, but as times marched on, those sports bike riders gravitated to something a little bit more comfortable, but still with fantastic performance. So I'm thinking bikes like the KTM 1290 Super Duke GT, the BMW S1000 XR, and the Ducati Multistrada. So these super bikes on stilts, as we've always called them, have always delivered fantastic performance, but not necessarily had the kudos that those old superbikes had. They didn't really come with all the bells and whistles. But as times marched on, some of these superbikes on stilts have become a little bit more bling. So BMW turned from the S1000 XR to the M1000 XR. Ducati introduced the Pikes Peak along the way. And in 2024, Ducati produced this top of the range RS version of their Multistrada V4. So this RS version is loaded with the best of the best everything from touring equipment to electronics to chassis parts and engine. But does that mean that it's any good, and can it justify its £34,000 price tag? So what do you get for all that money? Well, you get a chassis, rolling chassis, which is more or less the same as the Pikes Peak V4. So the most noticeable difference over the standard Multistradas is that it's got a 17-inch front wheel instead of a 19-incher. It's got a single-sided swing arm instead of a double-sided swing arm, and it's got lightweight forged aluminium wheels, electronic Öhlins suspension, Brembo Stylomer brakes. So it's got all the chassis parts that you would find on a superbike. But what makes the RS is the fact it's got a different engine to any other machine in the Multistrada V4 range. So this has got the Desmosedici Stradale engine, which you'll find in the Panigale V4, the Street Fighter V4, and a Diavel V4 RS. And Multistradas have normally got the spring valve Gran Turismo V4 engine, which has got 168 bhp. So this has got more power. It hasn't actually got as much power as the superbike. The superbike makes 213, this makes 178, but Ducati have retuned it for road use. So that means you've got an engine with all the MotoGP inspired bells and whistles inside, all the exotic components, the twin pulse firing order, the counter-rotating crank and everything in between. And also with this you get an STM billet aluminium slipper clutch. So the other RS goodies that it gets is carbon fibre screen, carbon fibre beak. It's got a titanium subframe, loads of nice little special bits. It's a numbered bike, but not limited edition. And for 2026, this has been updated. So this titanium subframe will now take a top box. It didn't before, and that put a lot of riders off. So you can put a top box on this and panniers. It's got different Marchesini wheels, and it's got the new electronics from the latest generation of Multistradas, which has been taken from the Panigale V4. And those electronics have got something like 70 virtual sensors, so the bike always knows where it is in space. And aside from that, it's just packed with every bell and whistle that Ducati can bolt onto it, from radar cruise to keyless ignition, heated grips, backlit switches. It's just got absolutely everything, and that all goes some way to justifying the price. It's really beautifully built as well. So it might look nice, it might sound nice on paper, but what's it like to ride? All right, because the all old Multistradas are designed for sporty riding and a bit of touring, let's talk about what the RS is like as a sports bike. So it's worth saying that even the standard Multistrada V4 handles superbly.
It's really fast. I mean, 168 bhp claimed. It's not exactly shabby, but obviously this has got the engine from the superbike with another 10 bhp. And you know, for normal riding, there isn't actually that much difference. You're not really going to feel an extra 10 bhp at normal speeds. You know, you might feel a little bit more on track, but on the road there isn't a lot of difference. What is different and what is worth the money is that the engine does feel like a thoroughbred. It's got a lot harder edge, it's got a lot more piercing airbox growl, and it's altogether more serious. Let's give it a little bit of airbox. That just pierces through your head. It's incredible. So, you know, on the road you've got more performance than you could ever want, and this bike is easily fast enough to slot itself into a fast group track day and hold its head up high. Handling is sensational. I mean, it's worth first saying that it's quite a heavy bike, even though it's 2 kilos lighter than the Pikes Peak, and it's 6 kilos lighter than the standard V4S. 225 kilos wet with no fuel, and you can feel the weight because it's quite a tall bike on long travel suspension. You can kind of feel the weight moving around if you grab it by the scruff of the neck and change direction quite quick. So you do need to ride it on your fingertips a little bit and wait for the weight to settle. But once you figured out how it likes to be ridden and go with it and not against it, it is incredible. The tyres seem to have limitless grip on the road. The control from the suspension, the Öhlins, is just absolutely superb. The stability is excellent. There's loads of ground clearance. It's really accurate through corners. So, you know, you can just whiz through a nice set of B-road bends and keep up with anything. The brakes are phenomenal. I mean, everything about this chassis is superbike-spec. Includes the brakes as well. The feel and the power is just like a Panigale V4, which in turn is, you know, some of the best braking feel of any sports bike power than there is. But the other big advantage of a Multistrada, and all Multistradas in general, compared to a sports bike, is that you're sat very tall, so you can see over the hedges, you can see past traffic, so you can kind of make progress a little bit easier because of that. And it's that long travel suspension, so you've got around 40mm more at the rear, 45mm more at the front than the Panigale, and then that allows the Multistrada to just glide over bumps. So, you know, the speed this thing can go from A to B is just sensational, from the way it accelerates out of slow corners, to its speed down the straights, to its braking power, to its agility, to its cornering preciseness. It is every inch superbike on stilts. So the performance is a given. It's right up there. There's nothing more you could possibly ask for from the engine, you know, in terms of its character and its aggression as well. Hasn't got quite as much torque as the spring valve engine, but you'd never know. It's nice and grunty. But riders are buying Multistradas not necessarily because they're really quick, it's because they're really comfortable as well. And despite this being the RS, and you know, the pegs are a little bit further back, the bars are a bit more narrow and smaller, you wouldn't actually know because it's very, very spacious. This bike is all day comfortable. A really nice roomy riding position, nice stretch to the bars, legs aren't cramped. This carbon fibre screen is actually quite good. There's no buffeting off of it like you get on the plastic screen, so that's actually a win, even though it doesn't look like it should work. and the whole shebang is just very friendly. The engine, despite having all that performance, is very soft when you want it to be, and there's all the different riding modes, including a new race mode which has got full power and all the gears. So in the riding mode you can have the engine as tough or as smooth as you want. You can have the suspension as tough or as smooth as you want. It's just everything to everybody, this bike, and it's just very calm. And when you're just kind of cruising along like this, you can be lazy with the gears, you just sit in this position all day. It's superb. You've got all your bells and whistles, you've got your radar cruise control, you've got collision warning indicators in the mirrors, you've got heated grips on this, you've got a more up-to-date switch gear than, for example, the Ducati V4 RS we rode recently, so it's all backlit as well. The dash is nice, it's got the RS logo in it, all the information you need. It's very technical, you know, typical Ducati. And you know, you could ride this bike all day, never dip into the performance it's capable of, and just have a really nice time. And the fact now that the titanium subframe will now take a top box, which put a lot of potential owners off the previous RS. So you can put a top box on this, you can go touring, it can take panniers, you can link your phone to the dash, so you've got sat nav. It's just very, very refined and very, very special. It's a lot of bike, granted, for a lot of money, but if you could afford this, you're not going to be disappointed. So this is the Multistrada, kind of at its best, just cruising along. And then when it sees a set of corners, it really does turn into a superbike. Here we go. Lovely little right-hander. Lovely braking feel. Auto blippers really smooth. Turnings accurate, precise. And it boogies on the way out.
So the big question is, will the Ducati Multistrada V4 RS take pride of place in your dehumidified, temperature controlled dream garage? Well, the answer is an emphatic yes. This bike is luxury overload. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's got fantastic handling, amazing brakes, incredible power, amazing technology. It's comfortable. You can go touring on it. It loves things like those bendy things behind me, and it's just hard to fault. What I would say though is that the RS doesn't feel a million miles different from a normal Multistrada V4 or V4S, because those bikes are at such a high level to begin with. This is just incrementally better, not night and day. It's even closer to the Pikes Peak because it shares the chassis. So this is a bike that's just got kind of a little bit more of everything. And I would say that if you're in a fortunate position where your pockets are deep enough to afford this bike and you want the best of the best, you're not going to be disappointed. But if you can't quite stretch to the RS, the other Multistradas are going to give you just as much pleasure. The other question you might be asking, because this hasn't got many rivals, the BMW M1000 XR is probably its closest rival. It's got a superbike engine, it's tall, it's got all the bells and whistles, and we've tested the Pikes Peak against the M1000 XR in the past and found that the BMW's got more power, it's probably faster from A to B, it's probably better on a track day, it's much racier, it's much more raw, but it isn't as kind of comfortable and as nice as an all-rounder. And because this isn't too different from the Pikes Peak, I think the same would apply. So if you're after something with amazing performance, but also really does properly tick that touring box as well, and a bike you can really live with, then the Ducati is probably the best superbike on stilts that a lot of money can buy. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll come back with some more like this very soon.